Imagine placing a $15 billion bet, not on some new tech company, but on the future of the Middle East. Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today. A massive and deeply controversial arms deal that could either bring a fragile stability to one of the world's most volatile regions or light the fuse on a brand new catastrophic conflict.
So let's just start with the number at the heart of this story, because it is staggering. $15.67 billion. To give you some perspective on that, that's more than the entire annual GDP of dozens of countries around the world. It is an enormous investment, but as we're about to see, it's an even bigger gamble.
And let's be perfectly clear, we're not talking about some old surplus gear getting cleaned out of a warehouse. No. This is cutting-edge, top-tier military hardware. We're talking Apache attack helicopters, Patriot missile defense systems, and entire fleets of advanced tactical vehicles. This is the kind of stuff that can fundamentally change the game on any battlefield.
And the recipients of all of his hardware? They're two of America's most critical and, let's be honest, most complex allies in the region, Israel and Saudi Arabia. Each has its own strategic goals, its own deep-seated security concerns.
And all of this is happening in the Middle East, a region that's already a powder keg, right? It's at a boiling point with proxy wars, fragile truces, and the constant looming threat of all-out war. So this deal, it's not just adding more weapons to a stockpile, it's like adding a huge weight to one side of a very delicate and very dangerous balance of power. So here's how we're going to break this all down for you. First, we'll dig into the details of this $15 billion surge. Then we're going to analyze the specific arsenals and what they actually mean for these allies. We'll examine the central conflict that's driving all of this, the Iranian shadow war. After that, we'll trace the global shockwaves and see how a conflict thousands of miles away could hit your wallet. And finally, we'll tackle the big question. Is this a smart move toward deterrence or a terrible prelude to disaster? All right, let's get into the nitty-gritty. What exactly does $15 billion buy you in the modern arms market? And more importantly, who is getting what?
Now, what's really fascinating here is how the firepower is divided up. It tells a story. So look at Israel. They get almost $6.7 billion, and the crown jewel of their package is 30 new Apache helicopters. We're talking flying tanks, essentially. Then you add over 3,000 tactical vehicles. You can see this is an offensive package. Saudi Arabia, on the other hand, gets a massive $9 billion defensive upgrade, all centered around 730 Patriot missiles designed to create a powerful anti-air shield.
And as this timeline shows, timing is absolutely everything. This deal is not happening in a vacuum. It's coming after 2 brutal years of war, it follows a major U.S. election, and it lands right in the middle of an incredibly fragile ceasefire in Gaza. The key thing to understand is this. The administration is pushing this through at a moment of extreme tension, and it's clearly trying to shape the security landscape for whatever comes next. Okay, so that covers the what. Now let's really get into the why. What is the strategic thinking behind giving these specific weapons to these specific allies at this precise moment in time? For Israel, this package is all about gaining a new edge. The Apaches are perfect for the kind of messy, close-quarters urban combat we've seen recently, or for potential conflicts in places like Lebanon. And those tactical vehicles, that's all about logistics, the ability to extend supply lines, which is absolutely crucial if you want to push deeper into enemy territory. So this isn't just about self-defense. It's about future-proofing the Israeli military against sophisticated threats from Iran and its heavily armed proxies like Hezbollah. For Saudi Arabia, this package is pretty much all about building a shield. Those 730 Patriot missiles are there to create a defensive net over the kingdom's most critical infrastructure. We're talking its oil fields, its cities. This is a direct response to past attacks, like that huge 2019 drone and missile strike that temporarily cut Saudi oil output in half. And by bolstering its own defenses, Saudi Arabia lets the U.S. reposition its own military assets to focus on other global hotspots. Basically, it helps Saudi Arabia protect itself so the U.S. doesn't have to.
And that, of course, brings us to the elephant in the room, the unspoken, yet all-important reason for this massive arms deal, the ongoing shadow war with Iran.
This quote really just cuts right to the heart of it. The U.S. isn't just selling weapons here. It's buying influence and bolstering a regional alliance. This is a calculated geopolitical move. It's designed to send a very, very clear message to Tehran. Any aggression is going to be met with overwhelming force. It's an insurance policy, and the premium is paid in Hellfire missiles and Patriot interceptors. And this gets to the central debate that's happening right now in Washington. On one side, you've got the hawks, Their argument is pretty simple. If you don't arm your allies, you're pretty much just handing the region over to Iranian influence. But on the other side, you've got the doves, and they're warning that flooding an already tense region with advanced weaponry is like throwing matches into a tinderbox. You risk sparking an arms race that just spirals out of control. But this isn't just a foreign policy issue, it's kicking up a political firestorm back home. You've got critics like Representative Gregory Meeks, who are accusing the administration of bypassing Congress entirely, of ramming the deal through without proper oversight. The accusation is that this is being handled in backroom deals, not through a transparent public debate. And that whole domestic controversy really highlights just how high the stakes are, because the fallout from this deal, well, it's not going to be contained to the Middle East. Its shockwaves could very well reach your front door and, yeah, your wallet. You know, this isn't theoretical. We've already seen this happen. The attacks on commercial ships in the Red Sea by Iran-backed Houthi rebels, they caused global shipping costs to skyrocket by 300%. That means everything from electronics to clothes to food gets more expensive for everyone, everywhere. And then there's the big one. Oil. The Middle East is the world's energy lifeline. If a wider conflict breaks out, experts are predicting the price of oil could leap from $80 a barrel to over $120 almost overnight. A spike like that wouldn't just be felt at the gas pump, it could be enough to trigger a global recession. The dependency here is just stark. 60% of the oil that's destined for industrial giants like China and India passes right through these vulnerable shipping lanes, and Europe is also heavily reliant. That's why this $15 billion arms deal is being watched with intense anxiety in capitals from Beijing to Brussels. So where does this all lead? We've looked at the what, the why, and the so what. Now let's explore the potential futures that could unfold from this single monumental decision. So how could this play out? Well, path 1 is the best case scenario. Deterrence actually works. Iran sees the new military balance and backs down. Path 2, a dangerous but limited proxy war flares up somewhere like Lebanon. Path 3 is the nightmare scenario, a direct military clash. Then you have the wild card. The Gaza ceasefire collapses, dragging everyone back into conflict. But there is one final hopeful path, a diplomatic win, where Saudi Arabia and Israel normalize relations, completely reshaping the region's politics. At its core, the administration's whole justification for this $15 billion gamble rests on the doctrine of peace through strength. It's the belief that the only way to prevent a war is to be so overwhelmingly powerful that no adversary would dare challenge you. It's a philosophy with a long and complicated history, one that's guided American foreign policy for decades, and it has led to both stunning successes and some catastrophic failures. And that leaves us with the ultimate question. Is this $15 billion arms package just pouring gasoline on a raging fire? Or is it a calculated masterstroke that will deter aggression and secure a fragile peace? The answer won't just define the future of the Middle East. Its echoes will be felt around the world. The only question is, will they be the echoes of peace or the drum?